All right, now we're going to look at our second word. This is our second and last example. And again, we're going to follow the two approaches. First of all, we're thinking about the word artificial. What would the core meaning of artificial be? Say for you, what's the first thing you think of as far as the meaning of artificial? Well, I would suggest that, to me at least, it's something that's artificial is something that's made by humans. It's man-made as opposed to being naturally made, right? So that artificial sweetener, that's something that's synthetic and made, not naturally, as opposed to sugar, which is more of a naturally occurring kind of thing. So that would be the core meaning. Now, I don't think there aren't lots of subsidiary extended meanings of artificial in the way that there are for there was for engine. But notice one way in which the artificial can develop in its meaning. It can pejorate. It can take on a pejorative connotation, right? So that artificial can come to mean fake. And there are references to this use of artificial that you'll find in the dictionary that, again, or in the online dictionary, online etymological dictionary that I've included on the outline. So that artificial can mean fake as in, an artificial smile or an artificial laugh, right? It's just not natural. It's not genuine, right? And so notice that here again, artificial it's in contrast to natural, right? Because natural smiles and laughs and natural things in general are thought of as being more genuine, better, superior, and something that's artificial is inferior, right? So that it has taken on this pejorative connotation. All right, so that's just a simple way of looking at the current use of artificial, its core meaning, and then a development of artificial. But now if we go to our second approach, if we look at the etymology, the history of this word, in fact, we're going to find that it has a very different kind of connotation, and it's a very different kind of usage. Again, this word goes back to Latin, where artificialis in Latin means contrived by skill. And this comes from a Latin word artificium, which means art or skill. So if we look at the original core meaning of the word in Latin, and this is true if you read Latin, you'll find that this is what the word means. You'll find that artificial actually means exhibiting great skill or craftsmanship, right? So notice it has a very positive connotation. It's something good because it's something that's made artificially is something that has been done with great skill or craftsmanship. And notice that it's not really essentially contrasted with nature in this case. There's no kind of necessary contrast. Artificial is not necessarily contrasted with nature. In fact, nature herself in Latin and in some Latin writings can be referred to as an artifact, as a craftswoman. So nature herself does things artificially. And that is, the products of nature, natural things themselves, exhibit great skill and craftsmanship. And in fact, for some thinkers, some thinkers and writers look at nature and natural things as being the greatest example of art or craftsmanship. And so that nature is something that artists should try to emulate, should try to imitate in their own art. And so create beautiful artificial things, literally, that is, things that exhibit great art or skill. So notice how this is a very different meaning of the word from what we think of as the core meaning of artificial. Now, if we look at the development of the word, we can find out kind of how it develops into what we think of as artificial. So again, this Latin word came into Old French and also into Middle English, and it still meant made by human skill. So even at this later date, artificial still refers to something that is skillful or craftsmanlike. And then it's not until modern English, so around the 16th century, that artificial comes to mean made by humans, especially in imitation of natural. So it's only in the modern English period from the 16th century on that artificial comes to mean something that is an imitation of the natural. And once it develops this idea, then it's easy for the word artificial to come to have a pejorative or negative sense. right? Because now what's artificial is it falls short of nature. It's an imitation of nature, but it's obviously nature's superior. And so artificial is in some way inferior. So notice all the comments that I've been making on these two words and these two approaches. What I hope these will be is models for you, examples, illustrations, so that when you find the word that you want to work on for your essay, you'll have some guidelines. You'll have a kind of pattern to follow when you do your research and work on your essay. Now, I hope it goes without saying that you can't choose artificial or engine to do your essay on. You can't pick a word that I'm already doing in detail for you. You need to find some other word. There are thousands of Greek and Latin words, and I'm only doing a very, very tiny fraction of words when I talk about their semantic development. So you can go out and find a Greek-based word and a Latin-based word that you're interested in that may have some meaning for you, and work on it. Do this kind of research and this kind of thinking about it. And of course, you're always welcome to ask questions. Ask me any questions about a word that you're interested in that you might want to work on. So that's our first installment of kind of looking at semantic history and change. We're going to have another one in very, very soon that will also, I hope, help give you some ideas for working on this kind of a topic.